This is Lair Media. To whom it concerns, welcome to the panel. Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to this edition of the panel on Lair Media.tv. All the information is on the bottom of the screen. Press the red button on the right hand side to subscribe to our channel. And all the programs are uploaded on our YouTube channel. Actually, thanks to everybody who taking the time over here. Beautiful evening again here in Ireland. It's like the Riviera of the Mid-Atlantic. Good evening, Mary. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Good evening, Tony. Welcome.
Hi there, Brad.
Good evening, Morgan. Welcome again.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Neil, and welcome.
Good evening, all. How are we?
We're all fantastic. As we're on here tonight, the second semi-final of the Eurovision Song Contest is being held tonight in Basel, in Switzerland. The biggest song contest in the world. It doesn't matter whether you hate it or like it. It's still watched by almost 1 billion people.
They asked me to go on.
Yeah. You did.
I said, excuse me. I said, I'm too busy. I have to go onto the panel.
More important things.
Yeah. I know. They're paying a higher fee. We're asking the question of us all tonight. You know, when you're not feeling great and you look around your music collection, what is your go-to artist or group that you go to listen to raise your spirits up, so to speak, you know? And Neil, you did say it was Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I thought you were directing that question at me earlier on. Sorry. Yeah, Michael Jackson and the 80s music, that's what I like. And that's and you know, I love all that Michael and the 80s music, you know, it's all brilliant. And late 70s, I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Michael Jackson alone was, to me, he was way ahead of anybody in the 80s. He was like some sort of a futuristic robotic dancer to me, if you ask me. Nobody came near him. He was so far above everybody, if you ask me. He was like looking into the future. He was like Thriller, Beat It, all the videos he had. Nobody came near him. He was just so. There's no words to explain how Michael Jackson was in the 80s. There's no words to explain his clothes, his dancing, his routines. There's no words to explain. I went to a concert in 1988, Park Equiv, the Bar Tour, and I was mesmerised for 3 months after that. I seen him live. That man never stopped dancing and twirling for 3 hours.
Yeah, he played Cork in here. Morgan, was he appreciated the same in America?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, he was a king. And Mary was.
I don't think there'll ever be another. There won't ever be another Michael Jackson. He had it all, and he had a miserable life behind it all. His entire childhood was, you know, there was everyone feeding off him, as far as I can see. They instantly saw money when they saw him. Even when he sang what was it, Sam? Is it about the rat, the pet rat?
Ben.
When he sang Ben as a child, you could see that he was just on another stratosphere. For me, it's probably miserable, but my go-to piece of music, good or bad, would be Placido Domingo and Maureen McGovern, Love Until the End of Time.
Oh yeah, that was a good piece of music.
I just know whether I'm in a bad mood or a good mood. That and I suppose reggae would be. I love reggae.
What's his name? Bob Marley.
I love Bob Marley.
Yeah.
I just love the beat. It's so close to the heartbeat. I just think it's I love it. But Placido Domingo and Maureen McGovern.
So we have Placido Domingo, we have Michael Jackson. And Tony, what about you? Who's your artist who you put on the
I have nobody in particular. No, I listen to
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
I was at that concert in Packy Queeve, actually, by the way.
yeah.
I seen you there.
Michael Jackson. And he did a fabulous act to
Yeah,
watch it.
it was
The way
great, wasn't it?
he disappeared on one side of the stage, and he had
Yeah,
somebody else taking his place, jumping up. It's very cleverly done.
Yeah,
It was very entertaining watching him.
yeah,
yeah.
But he was dancing like Charlie Chaplin, you know.
yeah.
He was very
He
good.
learned off him and James Brown. Like, well, he didn't learn. They were just like,
James
they
Brown
just
had
helped him along.
great movements as well,
Yeah.
Because there was a good documentary about James Brown on television there about 2 weeks ago. It was on for 3 hours. And last Saturday, James Brown, and last Saturday night I was watching Bob Marley for 3 hours. He was on BBC Two, BBC Four
Yeah,
last Saturday night,
yeah, yeah.
and but he's smoking pot and all that. It's very
Bob Marley was just a one off as well. Morgan, what
Yeah.
about you? Who would you be listening to?
Mine would probably be Lester Young, the jazz
Never
artist.
heard.
Always puts me in a
Lester Young, you're my friend for life.
That's the, I never
or to
heard of
stick
him.
with the
I never-
1980s, maybe Van Halen. Van Halen always puts me in a good mood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my own favorite, anything by Creedence Clearwater Revival is just Fogerty's voice is something else, Bad Moon Rising and oh my God, he was just something else. John Fogerty. He's still touring,
Is he?
but he is, yeah.
I think these people came from on the side in Western the Fogartys.
Creedence Clearwater Revival, CCR, but
Fogarty.
he kept the name, so he'd have a band with him as well when he's touring. But they're just, I mean, when you hear the intro to Bad Moon Rising, the guitar intro after one note, you know what's coming on, and it's a very very uplifting piece of music. Of course, then on the other hand, my favorite music would be jazz. So I'd have
Yeah.
John Coltrane would be John Coltrane. Blue Train, lads. Blue
But
Train.
anything as well by Albert Hammond.
Yeah,
I mean, to me, Albert Hammond was probably there's three people, maybe four people in my lifetime that I can think of. No, it's getting to a stage now where I'm thinking of more. But Elton John, as singer songwriters, Elton John, Albert Hammond, um, uh, uh, the likes of them, they're just on another sphere. Their music has completely lasted. Do you know? The
When,
test of
when,
time.
when Michael Jackson was out in the 80s, okay, I went to two concerts. You might laugh at this now, but I went to two concerts in my life, right? Went to three, one with the daughter, and then I went to the first concert I ever went. I was 18. I went to Michael Jackson. After that concert, I never believed in going to another concert because I never believed you could see anybody perform like that, and I was probably right. Because
Yeah,
Duran Spandabal, they all said, but nobody could perform like him. And the next
no,
concert I went to was when I met Lorraine, my wife now, in
yeah,
1997. We went to see Celine Dion, but I still wasn't happy. She was
yeah.
yeah,
great voice, but nobody could do what Michael Jackson did, I
No,
believe.
no.
Nobody. And then we went to another one, her daughter, when she was born, she's about 7, we went to Kylie Minogue. I'll never go to another concert now. I'll never, because that Parky Quiv, that phased me. That was just,
Yeah.
and
So
Michael
good.
Jackson himself. He was just, you've no idea, what he done to people in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, in
and I
low,
believe he was incredibly.
Yeah,
It's my view. I think he was incredibly badly judged and
yeah,
wrong
yeah.
in his life, and I think in time the truth will come out. And
well, the same thing happened. Elvis Presley. There's so many people pulling off him. Living off of him.
Yeah.
They weren't. They
Well,
didn't. They weren't.
but
They
he
didn't.
was even with Priscilla Presley. She was 15. So what's that make him? If that's the case.
there were different
They
times.
didn't mind him.
Yeah,
Way different times. I mean,
yeah,
in those days, you could marry your cousin.
yeah,
You could marry, and there was nothing thought of it.
yeah,
There were different times, and he lived a lifestyle that I don't think any of us would want to live. You think you have all these dreams of being pop stars and film stars, but when you actually think about it, especially when they're in it so young, and I mean that Colonel, what's his name?
Colonel Parker.
Yeah,
Colonel Bogey, is it?
Colonel what? What's his name, Pat?
Colonel Bogey,
Parker.
the wrote the march,
Colonel
is it?
Parker.
Colonel Bogey, yeah.
Colonel
Colonel,
Parker
yeah.
completely leached off him. Completely and utterly leached off him. And
Yeah.
I mean, he had nobody looking after him.
No.
How
Elvis now, but Michael
what?
Jackson, absolutely nobody that gave a damn about him, really.
No, look. The way it is, Mary. Money is life. You can't live without money, and you can't have friends if you have plenty of money. You just can't, because like when you run out of money, they're just gonna go, and that's what happens. As you know, money is life. If your friend has loads of
No.
money, he's not your
No.
friend.
Now, Morgan, as you probably have realized already, you being in this country, we're a country of talkers. We talk about anything. But the one thing that we talk about all the time is this.
Why is it so bad, the weather?
Jesus, I don't know, sure. The whole thing is upside down at the moment, I think, isn't
It
it?
is. It's absolutely mad.
Huh?
Yeah?
Upside down.
Yeah. Who's behind it all, I wonder?
No, that says the man above.
You reckon?
That says so.
Noel Dempsey.
Oh, yeah.
No, what do you think of the rain?
Dreadful.
Yeah.
It'd blow the, and the wind, it would blow the whiskers off a baldy face down. It'd be bad in this country, but if you were a duck, it'd be all right. Or a goose.
Who's behind it? Why is it so bad?
Some guy having a vendetta on people in Navan. Some mad just want to kill him.
Right.
Yeah.
And why Navan?
Why not?
Why not Kells?
Too far away.
It's just handy, it's just out the road.
Just down the road. Directly underneath Sky and all.
I think it's God being angry with us.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And why is he so angry?
I don't really know.
I know, he's livid. And he's going to flood the whole world.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. That's what's going to happen. The end of the world 2030.
He's not angry with us.
Don't know. Probably is getting his own back.
Yeah.
Putting too many things up in space. It wasn't meant. The space wasn't meant for objects like what's in it now.
No. And they're giving us the bad weather.
I'd say so. Yeah. Something to do with it anyway.
Spacemen.
Spaceman. That's it.
Well, now, lads, if you want to do a PhD on the weather, talk to the Irish people, because we always talk about the weather. I noticed that myself. I've noticed it today. They're always talking about it. I mean, obviously, if it's raining and pouring, they'll be talking about the weather. If it's sunshine like we have every day, they'll be talking about it,
Yeah, it's for taximan. It's great for a taximan. Everyone gets in the car. It's a lovely day, isn't it? And if you run out of conversation, well, what's it supposed to be like later on? Just having a clue. Well, they said this morning, we're lost without the weather, taximan.
I heard a thing about Wexford, the bull ring in Wexford, where you have where the county council forced these people to take down the signs advertising their local shops. Did you hear that at all? And
No,
there was a piece on the radio because they said it's in the EU. It's an EU law that they have to obey, and a lot of the small shops are giving out about it because they have no other way of telling people where they are if they're off the, a lot of the middle of town of Wexford is pedestrianised.
Yeah.
So to drive footfall, they had these boards out saying, pointing the arrow, say to the Tony shop or Mary shop or anything, and now they can't leave them out anymore. It's just.
They really want people to sit at home, don't they? And just book online, order online. The busiest people in this planet in 10 years' time will be couriers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robot couriers.
Delivering stuff. The sweatshop, well, they're called Amazon, but I call them the biggest sweatshop in the world. I mean, people shouldn't buy anything off of Amazon.
Oh, that's not. People have to work as well, and people are employed. I think this is the best.
Yeah, George.
I think this is the best weather forecast that we've ever heard.
Report, folks, but the rest of today is only fucking dreadful. Have a look at this. Look, rain, pelting down from fucking all sides on top of us. No let up, you'll be drowned to the fucking bollocks. Look, in the Midlands you get a little bit of relief for an hour or so, but that's about it. I'm advising you not to go out. Look on Monday. I don't know how you're going to get the fucking kids to school. Thunder, lightning, rain, pissing, flooding, you fucking name it. Everything on fucking Monday. Big dirty wind coming in from the west. Look at it, up from the southwest winds. They'll fucking cut the bollocks off you walking to school. They'll turn umbrellas inside out. I don't know how you're going to get up. Even Donegal are getting a bit of snow up there. There's no relief at all on Monday. And as for Tuesday, another dirty fucking day. Look at the cush of it. Look at the fucking rain everywhere.
Very good.
I don't know anybody understand. There was a lot of words that weren't English there and that, but I'm sure we got used to it anyway, you know.
I don't know where that video before. I don't know. I think before Christmas it was, and I was doing Pascal Donahue, and I had the one, the jacket, the scarf, and I had the thing up and doing Pascal Donahue.
Yeah.
What else? Good.
One of the questions we asked ourselves is, what is the effect of TV on all of us? You know, how do you think it affected us growing up? I know some of us grew up with black and white television. We'll have to go back for that. I'm only speaking for myself. And we grew up with all the Western people like Hopalong Cassidy and what's the name, Davy Crockett and all them, you know, growing up. And the toys that we got for Christmas, the boys got cowboy suits and the girls got nurses suits. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, I'll go first. Now, every Saturday morning we had swap shop, multiple swap shop, and you had on that we had Spider-Man, Champion the Wonder Horse, the Wombles, you had Rebel, you had other programs as well.
You got into the 70s, into the 80s and all those programs.
Yeah.
I go back to the 60s.
You don't look at Tony.
There are BBC programs you mentioned there.
Then we had
into the 80s. No.
Oh.
Yeah.
We never had Hopalong Cassidy. We had. I remember when television first started in the 60s. You know, it was very late. It didn't start till 5 o'clock in the day anyway.
Yeah.
Television came on about 5:15. And
did you get the Twilight Zone?
We had that, yeah.
It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Didn't come on.
Twilight Zone, yeah.
And it finished at one night, Tuesday night, it finished about 11:45. But other nights it finished about 11:15, most of the other nights. And that was it. There were a certain amount of hours. Then they extended the hours back, going into the 80s. They came on earlier in the day and stayed on till nearly 12 o'clock at night. But the television was finished. Even ITV finished at 12 o'clock most nights, up to about, I suppose, about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It closed down at night with the English national anthem. And
I remember Dahi Laka and those.
Was on about 5 o'clock on weekdays.
And Buntus Kainte.
That was later at night. That came on about 7 o'clock, 7:30.
And then we had Wanderley Wagon.
Yeah.
Wanderley Wagon, yeah.
That was on Fridays. Wanderley Wagon was on Friday.
Here comes the wagon.
The wagon, yeah.
Wanderley Wagon, Mr. Crow, and all of them.
That was on Friday at about that much later as well when that came in. Talking of
But then in the 70s, then we started buying the networks, the Irish networks and the British networks started buying the soaps from the United States. Of course, the first big one I remember was Dallas, you know. That was
stop. Oh. Dallas was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dallas, you had Dallas, and after Dallas, I think you had Parkinson, but you had the professionals as well, and Starkey and Hodge, Kojak, Hill Street Blues, the two Ronnies, the Dick Emery show, Benny Hill. Oh, stop.
Oh, yeah. I loved.
They'd be all banned now.
I loved Hill Street Blues. I thought it was one of the better ones, you know.
Yeah.
I thought that myself was brilliant, you know. The characters in it.
Marlon wouldn't know some of those now because they're English programs you mentioned there as well. They're like Marlon. You would have known the American ones only. You wouldn't know the English programs.
You know? Well, you probably know of. You probably remember Cheers, do you? Or are you too young? Cheers. Cheers.
Pat, do you remember this? Do you remember this? Listen.
Where's your music for ITN?
ITN.
Yeah.
ITN, yeah.
The Thames.
Tim's on television.
Yeah.
They were innocent time. Mr. Ed. Remember Mr. Ed?
Yeah, hello, I'm Mr. Ed. Hey, hold on a second. Horses are horses, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course.
Talking horse.
That
So
is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed. Yeah. And then we had.
Brilliant. Mr. Ed was great. He was great.
I think the first American series that made a massive impact here on Irish audiences anyway was Dallas, you know?
Yes, that was, my God, that was just.
But you got much later now, coming in the into the 90s and that.
Well, no, they were in the late 70s, early 80s, Dallas.
Yeah. Because some of them aren't dead yet, some of the people in that.
You had the follow on from that then Dynasty as well, you know?
That they went, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking dysentery.
Joan Collins was in there, wasn't she?
Yeah, that was Linda Evans.
Yeah.
She's about 140, isn't she, Joan Collins?
And
the rest?
She's not far off, anyway. You know.
She's still alive, you know. But it had a positive effect more so than negative, I think, on children growing up, you know.
Yeah,
yeah. Ireland was a very bleak place for children in the 50s and 60s, certainly anyway, and in the 70s as well. You know, it was a very, very bleak place to
the thing is, Pat, right? If you look at photographs back then of children, or if you look at photographs back at people out in the street or on the beach, there's not one obese person.
No. We went out. Certainly in the summertime. We went out after our breakfast, and we were told, "Don't come back again till your supper at 6 o'clock. Stay out all day."
That's the way it was, Pat. People are just people are getting overfed. They're eating with their eyes and they're eating with their nose, and they believe their kids are not getting enough food. The kids are getting way too much food, and they're not going out enough. And it's wrong. I just don't agree with it. I think kids are just not out enough and they're eating too much.
There's a lot about there was a piece about this, an article about this lady that went to the doctor, and she said, "I think I'm a picky eater." And he said, "You can't be a picky eater. You're 600 pounds. You weigh 600 pounds, you know." She said, "I don't think I eat enough vegetables, you know." I mean, people get these things into their head. They can't cope with it anymore, you know. But we are more sedentary now. We have less activity. You know, less activity.
No, it's gone. Like if you see a child walking on a wall now, what we did or climb a tree, people say there's something wrong with that child. That's what they'll say.
Well, they'll phone the police.
Yeah, that's what they'll do, yeah. And like if you go into a garage now, a Circle K or an Apple, there's all these food stalls. Look at all these donut stalls, curry stalls, and McDonald's, Supermarket. They just want to put food into people. Like, and when you go in, I'm starving, but you're not. It's in the mind. You just walk out because you're not hungry. It's in the mind, but people are just going to get it.
Well, two of the worst things that ever came to Ireland was McDonald's and Starbucks.
Them bleeding Americans.
They're absolutely appalling.
I'm so sorry.
They're appalling altogether. There's no doubt about it. They're just absolutely appalling. If people
just Starbucks cost a fortune.
Yeah, if people looked at
McDonald's has caused the collapse of civilization.
Yeah.
Pizzas. It's disgusting, pizzas.
Huh?
Yeah. It's all the bread that puts the weight on the pizzas, the donuts, the breads, the burgers, the buns. It's the batter, the chips. It's all that. Like I gave all that
sugar. It's just loads of sugar.
Yeah,
people crave more and more of it.
I mean, you go into Starbucks for a coffee, for a latte, or whatever you want to. There's something between 12 and 16 spoons of sugar in it. The equivalent
but you're getting a muffin with it. You're getting a muffin with it.
Can you imagine getting maybe a coffee at home in your own house and put 16 spoons of sugar into it? Oh. Would you drink it? You would not.
My father used to take 8 spoons of sugar in his tea. in his
8?
mug of tea. I can't believe, we could never believe it. And I realized not so long ago that my uncle, Lord rest him, he took the same amount in his tea. My two uncles. So and my grandfather apparently was the same. I have no idea what it was. And they had continuous mugs of tea all day long, with eight spoons of sugar. And I've never taken any sugar.
Was the
And
sugar different then to the sugar now, or is that just
no, it's
maybe
not.
it's stupid?
It's not.
No,
He
it's
just, and he didn't eat sweet things other than that.
I worked in a factory, a summer job, a sugar factory that made sugar, the refined sugar, that processed sugar beet. If you saw how sugar was made, you would not go near it. You certainly wouldn't go near it with a 40-foot pole at all. Anything white in your house, in your presses, like salt and sugar, throw them out.
But it's in everything.
Yeah,
It's
it
in
is.
Yeah, but there's good sugars and bad sugars.
Yeah, well, this is another thing. I think they're tackling in the United States now, which is the biggest consumer culture in the world. They're about to tackle the appalling additives, from the food industry, the formulas and the additives. They're attacking them because they're just. I mean, Coca-Cola is another thing. That should be banned as well. Coca-Cola is more dangerous for you than smoking cigarettes.
Sorry.
They don't even use real cane sugar in the U.S. They use high fructose corn syrup. So if you want a Coca-Cola with real sugar in it, you have to get the Mexican Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And it does have a different taste. The high fructose corn syrup, which is even worse, it has a sort of sour taste, and Americans don't even realize it anymore.
Coca-Cola should be distributed to garages for cleaning engines of cars and things like that. You know,
There's a video of them boiling it down. They did a science video boiling the Coca-Cola down. You can see it's like a thick, goopy black syrup at the bottom, and
can you imagine?
You never want to drink another one.
Yeah, absolutely not. And you look at this. You look at second and third level schools and colleges, and they have these machines with all these drinks inside them. They're killing the young people. They're killing young people. They serve nothing but junk food.
But if you feel Coca-Cola or any sugary foods on the table that you left, how sticky it is. So that's the stickiness that's sticking to your heart, wall of your heart. The walls of your heart. And I believe everybody should take cholesterol tablets no matter what. Everyone should take them. I believe that. Could be wrong. That's just me.
This is the panel here every Thursday night with all the usual suspects, and we'd have a laugh now with Lisa having a laugh.
What's your name? Johnny McMonigal. Is there a problem, officer? We'll find out in a minute. Suck into this. The suck? Do not blow. You suck these new ones. Hurry up. Now, what did you say your name was again?
Johnny McMonigal. Hey, that's no funny. Aren't we putting a complaint in about
Holy man. Hey, see you later on, Mo.
I thought that was really funny. I came across that on YouTube. Very funny.
That wouldn't go straight. That wouldn't go. You need to put that straight into your mouth. But that gas, it wouldn't come through a tube like that.
No. But the idea, I thought was very good.
My favourite film. I have two favourite films of all time. My first one was the 1933 King Kong. That's my favourite film. My dad used to walk me up and down the hall when I was a baby to keep me awake for that film, King Kong, in the 70s.
You was very old to remember that.
No, well, I wasn't there when it came out. I don't remember it coming out.
I thought you were there, yeah.
No, he's only 55.
Time
55.
55
and a bit.
Yeah, and a bit, small bit, yeah. And so that was the 1930s King Kong. That was a very good film, actually, yeah.
Yeah, like I just love watching it, and I every night I watch I'd watch Norman Wisdom, Charlie Chaplin, Laurel Hardy, Bud Abbott Costello. Actually in 1996 I was in the Isle of Man, and I heard Norman Wisdom lived there, and I knocked into his house, and the lady answered, "So how he said, I love Norman Wisdom. I just wondered, is he there? If not, I'll just walk out." And he came out to the door, and I was talking to him for 10 minutes.
Oh my goodness me!
Very funny.
Yeah.
He was funny.
Lovely man.
That's why now Morgan would never do about normal wisdom. Because he went to America once and he wasn't a success and he just headed back to England, you know.
I didn't know that now.
An English comedian, yeah, decided to send him to America. I saw a documentary on him on it.
He's played Morgan. He's played the ukulele as well.
Yeah, he did.
And
he played a lot of instruments, didn't he?
Yeah, he recorded this when I'm cleaning windows.
He used to sing lots of songs, you know.
Yeah,
don't laugh at me because I'm a fool.
Yeah.
You know, very funny he was. Some of his sketches were very good. And the fellow was called Johnny Desmond, who was in most of the films with him. Yeah. But he was a great comedian, you know, very funny.
Well, another famous film, as you're talking about, Neil reminded me in the 1930s, was Jimmy Cagney. Hey, Ma, I made it. I'm top of the world.
I don't know. I've heard Jimmy Cagney. My dad always talk about, and I've seen one or two of his films when I was young. I must actually look at one because he's
the one when he was trying to make it to the top of as being a gangster. I forget the name of it now. What was the name of it? Hey, Ma, I'm top of the world, Jimmy Cagney. Oh, God,
Scarface, was it? Scarface?
He was in Some Like It Hot as well with Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon.
He was, yeah.
After that, he was
Scarface, was it?
He's still alive.
Jimmy Cagney, I wouldn't say so.
Oh, no, he's dead.
Oh, Tony Curtis, sorry.
Tony Curtis is still alive. He must be in in a chair by now, I'd say.
He must be about
He drives that chili bang man car.
Oh, yeah, Dick Van Dyke is 100.
Oh, sorry, that's what I'm thinking of. Who am I thinking of? I always get them mixed up. Dick Van Dyke and Tony Curtis. Which one is still alive?
Who?
Dick Van Dyke.
I'll find out.
But you're talking about contests there. I was reminded of one I saw in the London Palladium with Sammy Davis Jr. What's his name? Sammy Davis Jr. and the Italian singer. God, I'm gonna blank. And Liza Minnelli. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. and Liza Minnelli. I went to see their concert in the London Palladium in the 70s. They were of course, they were steeped in entertainment. They grew up on the stage.
Yeah.
You know? Those people they were just so fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
And
the likes of them concerts, you don't see them anymore. And even stand-up comedy is eventually going to go completely. You can't do anything properly on stage. You know, like if you have to do slapstick, if someone injures themselves, they're going to sue the bleeding theatre.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can't be funny anymore. No, you can't be funny. You know.
The only funny one there now is Trump. He's the best comedian of all.
He's great though. He's brilliant. I love him.
Yeah,
he's very good.
He's finished his tour. He's finished his tour of the Middle East, and he got a new Boeing 747.
Yeah,
you know.
Why did he get that?
They want to change. They're trying to buy a new aircraft to replace the
757 he had.
Air Force One, which is costing a fortune to keep flying, you know. So he took it. So I don't know.
Apparently, he's going to be able to keep this one when he leaves office.
Yeah,
this is going to be his own personal plane.
Gee, like, you know, I'm going for a drive. Where you go? Well, I'm going with my 747. I'm going to get milk. Look.
Every single president of the United States has got a present of some sort from overseas. From overseas people. He's not the first to accept a plane or something on behalf of the presidency. And if it brings about peace through negotiations rather than putting people on the ground and putting American troops in everyone's country, as long as that's the way he's going about it, I'm 100% behind him. I'd prefer.
What about with the Saudis, though? The weapons deal they just signed with them. I mean, that's not, I can't imagine that's going to bring peace. It's going to throw weapons into the Middle East.
And he's supplying Israel, with
So,
stuff.
so the Americans and the Russians have flooded the world with weapons since the Second World War. So, that's
Absolutely.
Watch
half of the
late at
course.
night. Watch a site called FR24 late at night, and planes come into Shannon, and it will not give you who owns the aircraft. Not if any it just comes up. And I hear the plane go over here. It
Can
just
I just
not.
ask you the question, right? I wouldn't be as knowledgeable as the four of you, the four of you there, okay? What if there was never, ever, ever an America?
Well,
What would the world be like?
Oh, we'd have no Morgan then. Or Morgan. The world
No,
would
but
be
you know what I mean? Like,
You mean like no
what,
U.S.?
I know,
I mean,
first of all,
if the British had
they are
just kept all of it.
Hey,
Yeah.
listen,
they are.
I'm, you know, you leave the
we'd
British.
have no jazz music, and I know what I'd do. There's no jazz music.
You know, all the Africans, wouldn't you? They're
No,
jumping around.
no.
Well, sir, I love your country. It's kind of wonderful.
It would be either British or Spanish. The Americas. It would have ended up being British or Spanish.
No, but regards of all the wars, all the bad wars that went on, that somebody had to intervene. The likes of America, like what if America wasn't here and they didn't intervene in certain wars that had to be intervened in, but no one else could except America. So if America wasn't there with all that military, what would the world be like now? Back from years to now.
We probably would be speaking German. We wouldn't be speaking English in Ireland anyway.
There you go. That's one thing. That's one good thing I think about America. I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable as you, but the only thing I know is that like America is keeping the world from World War III over and over again.
This is the Hobbesian argument going back to the mid 17th century, the Leviathan, 1651, where he's saying that if you don't have a strong authority in the world, like a strong leadership authority, like a state, you'll have anarchy. Yeah. You'll have a war of all against all, and it'll end up being
That's me
really
point, Morgan.
Chaotic
the whole trust of
Morgan.
The whole idea of the United Nations coming into being after the Second World War. One of the main idea behind it was to prevent World War III or the next World War.
Right.
And unfortunately, at this stage of development of the United Nations, the structure needs huge overhaul of it. They don't have the authority anymore to do anything effective, if you know what I mean.
Well, I just want to say I've just voted for Eurovision.
They can't mind Eurovision. It's amazing that the countries that were on top one time. Don't forget that your country is very. What about Italy? Italy was the most powerful nation in the world one time. The Romans, right?
Yeah, Stalin wasn't it?
The French were the thing. The Spanish took over the whole of America from Argentina up to Canada. Everything is Spanish. Los Angeles, San Francisco, they're all Spanish.
And the Americans
and French. Don't forget the French.
America Spanish up the whole way.
Kansas had been part of the Spanish Empire, and then of course part of Mexico.
Did you learn much about the American Civil War, Morgan, going to school? What happened with the southern states?
We did in my state. I can't speak for the South.
Yeah.
Kansas was a anti-slave state, free state. But Missouri, one state over, they were pro-slavery. So we had a bleeding Kansas and the border war. So we all grew up learning about all this.
Yeah, he had been successful. He very
I need to go. No.
What you say, Tony?
Freak show. What?
What's he talking about? Where's he gone?
Sorry, you're talking to my son.
Else, ask him there.
The American Civil War was the biggest killing field ever witnessed of a civil war in any country was in America. There were generations of young people, young men wiped out completely.
What the Southern Army did was brilliant. I mean, he took over right up the whole way, right up to Washington. He went with the army, and what they did to him was disgraceful. They turned his house into a graveyard, and his beautiful house in Arlington. They knocked down his eye.
Yeah, that was Robert E. Lee you're talking about.
His house, yeah. But Robert E. Lee was a brilliant. I mean, he had so little troops, and then he was able to get so far up. He was up the whole way nearly to New York. He went, with his army. And he hadn't enough troops. All the Irish were coming in and they were fighting for the Union side, which is a bit lot. And all the uniforms for the southern side were made in Limerick, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
It's a little known fact, a little unknown fact, I should say. But like that, he was a brilliant general. He was Robert E. Lee, what he did.
Well, they had a lot of good generals. They had Stonewall Jackson as well.
Oh, just some of them were brilliant leaders, And what they did afterwards, then, of course, you see, what happened was the blacks were able to go up and join the Union forces, and he wouldn't let the blacks fight, and Lee wouldn't on the south. But the whole thing would have changed if he'd only had succeeded. What would America be like today, I wonder? The changes he was going to.
Well, I mean, one argument is if the Confederacy had succeeded, or they had some kind of a ceasefire agreement, that maybe slavery would have been exhausted anyway, because it was an untenable institution. Like, it wasn't economically feasible for the South anyway.
Yeah, but look at all the slaves.
Maybe they would have realized this at some point.
George Washington had about 40 slaves. The biggest slave was Jackson, the man. He's on the $10 note. He was the biggest slave owner of the whole lot, President Jackson. All the presidents down were all slave owners.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't talk about that.
Of course, I always maintain that Virginia is the real capital of the United States. Morgan, what do you think?
That Virginia?
Yeah, it's the real capital of the United States, I think myself.
He's trying to cause trouble now. They don't even buy into it. I just want to be the first to announce here on Lear Media.
We want to know about this Eurovision. We said it at the beginning. It means nothing.
I just want to be the first to announce that Donald Trump is a grandfather just now. His daughter Tiffany is after having a little boy.
Oh my God.
So he's a granddaddy.
I won't be able to sleep tonight over that.
Well, take a nice glass of water and an Aspro, you'll be fine.
Yup, the Dono. Morgan, what do you think of China and America if it happens? The war.
Well, it's funny you asked, because I just watched it was a program. I think it was like an old 60 Minutes episode on all the different unidentified objects. So they were doing not only maybe extraterrestrial, spaceships, but all the surveillance balloons that China has been sending over the U.S. they had to wait until it crossed over the country before they could shoot it down, and all these drones entering military airspace, and they don't know where all these things are coming from. They might be from China, they might be from somewhere else. And they were interviewing all these naval admirals, because China's building up their navy. In fact, I think they now have the largest navy on Earth.
That's
Although
why
they don't have as powerful of ships as the U.S. does, but they have the largest naval force. And the threat that they're posing to Taiwan, and what the United States is planning on doing about it. And I mean, the tension is rising, and the likelihood of a conflict, I think, is increasing between the U.S. and China.
It can't happen, Morgan. It just can't happen. It can't happen.
You would think that with trade, the amount of trade that China conducts with the U.S., that it wouldn't be if we go to war, the economy, they conduct so much trade with the U.S., the economy would just completely shut down, you would think, right? So that would be the biggest reason not to, right? World War III,
Walmart shelves are going to be empty by Christmas. What's Walmart going to do? They won't be empty shelves.
Well, the thing about it is the need for a stronger United Nations to have the moral authority to say stop or whatever like that is paramount now in the world, because we don't have the status of America and China. People don't trust those two countries now, because a lot of their reasoning behind it is, of course we'll come to your aid, but we want something out of you. We want to get something out of it, and that's not a good thing either. So we need a very strong United Nations with a United Nations army behind it, backing up the system, with the military force.
I think the biggest mistake in 1945, when they created the UN Security Council, was putting the main powers on it. They should have excluded them and put everybody else on that.
Well, they should certainly be excluded from the permanent decision making, where they can veto all decisions. They should take that away from the big, like the United States, America, China, this should be Russia, this should be taken off the Security Council at all. This should be taken off completely,
Yeah.
And
But the thing is that Morgan, Pat, Tony, and Mary, the thing is, okay, war with America and China, it'll be on China's soil, and they have lots of ships, okay, over 90 destroyers, small destroyers, not as big as the Arleigh Burkes and whatever. But if they start sending missiles to beat the band all at once, the American ships don't have enough there to stop from the inland missiles and their ship missiles. They won't stop them all. There's no way. They haven't enough power on the ships to stop all the missiles coming to them.
According to the admiral, the interview, they said they would be prepared for such a scenario, that we have secret defense capabilities that people aren't even aware of. That was his argument. He was saying, we're not going to tell you what we have. He was basically saying that would be the worst mistake China would make, is attacking an aircraft carrier, that we have ways of defending against it. But I don't know if that's true or not, but that was what he was saying.
In the air, the Americans in the air, they're dominant. Forget about anybody going near America in the air. They're dominant in the air, and they can win that way.
But Neil, after what's after happening now this weekend with Donald Trump in Egypt, and the level of support and the level of respect that they showed to him, coupled with his close ties with Israel, which, whether you like it or not, Donald Trump is very, very, very loyal to Israel, and vice versa. China, I can't see China going anywhere near America.
Hopefully.
I think what he did was the right thing to impose tariffs. You can only go so long with tariffs imposed on you.
One thing.
Impose tariffs.
The tariffs are coming into Europe, but we should be singing tonight. Simon Harris is over in Europe. He's going to sort out the Americans. Did you not know that? Simon Harris.
You think of Trump doing all this tariffs?
The man should be allowed to do what he was elected to do.
He's doing what Ireland should be doing.
If tariffs are the policy now, and that tariffs were the policy before the Second World War, and tariffs were the policy before the First World War, it's something that will likely lead to global tension. So, I mean, if the U.S. and China are having a trade war, this is exactly what was happening with the U.S. and Japan before.
I don't think the
trade restrictions and the embargoes. It's something that leads to conflict between countries. I
don't think China is interested in a trade war with the United States or vice versa. It's a negotiating ploy on behalf to have China to come to the table with the United States and work out a trade agreement. It's just a mechanism to use it to bring them to the table for negotiations, and there haven't been any tariffs imposed yet because they've, like the United Kingdom, England have entered into a trade deal with the United States, so they'll be sanction free. And the same way with the European Union are going to enter into negotiations with the United States to have a decent trade alliance between them.
That's all he's looking for, is trade with the world.
And them boy as well.
What about what you call it, the bike shed? There's nothing being done about it.
I'll say this. I mean, if his policies crash the economy, I mean, the projection is that the U.S. is about to enter a recession, that the prices are going to increase, and that we're about to hit a major, if not a financial crisis.
If he thinks that's going to happen, would he stop it?
I see that prices at the pump have already gone down in America. You know what people are paying for their petrol and diesel at the pumps are already gone down. The price of eggs have gone down. The price of podges.
I haven't seen the prices of eggs going down, but stores have been stockpiling. They stockpiled before any tariffs were imposed. But once the stockpiles run out, a lot of stores like Walmart have even said that prices on certain products are going to go up. So I mean, if the economy crashes, then people are going to realize that whatever the policy is not working. But I agree with you that he's trying to do all the things that he campaigned on. I'm obviously not a supporter of it, but I think the big problem for me is he is doing it alone. It's not with the Congress. It's not a democratic process. He's signing executive orders to do all these things, and it's not establishing a good precedent.
You know why he's doing. You know why he resorts to that, Morgan. You know, one of the main reasons is the Democrats have no. They have no. Let's say, they don't have the same appreciation of the American people themselves, because if they had, they'd cooperate with the president to do positive things. But
it depends on what the policy is. I mean, if they don't see the policy, if the policy is going to benefit, say, a large corporation, and this is why, when Mary is talking about cutting the taxes, well, if it's for the tech companies, if it's to allow large corporations to establish monopolies where it benefits Trump and his people in office, then I can't see them supporting that.
Big tech companies made a lot of money under the 8 years of Obama and the 8 years of what's his name as well. So, I mean, it happens all the time. That's what politics is about in America. But the cooperation in Congress is up to the Democratic Party, whether they want to do something positive for the country or they don't. I think it's very simple.
Their main goal is to win elections and to oust the Republicans from office.
And the two front runners now for the Democratic Party is AOC and Kamala Harris.
For what, leadership?
For to contest the next election.
I was thinking maybe
Cory
Booker, the guy who did the filibuster, Cory Booker, maybe he was going to try to.
Yeah, they're the two front runners. Imagine that. For the Democrat Party, both Kamala Harris and.
I can't see either of them. I can't see AOC. She's too young. I can't see Kamala. Kamala's too closely linked to Biden and just not.
I think one of the main requirements to run for president is you have to have a brain, and none of the two of them have a brain. None of the two.
But even besides all that, I don't think Americans really care so much about intelligence anymore. I think they care about.
I mean, Martin,
just look at the last election. I think they care more about. But I think they care more about you being a non-traditional politician. They want somebody who's outside the establishment. I think if the Democrats want to retake seats and retake the presidency, they need to select somebody who's not a normal established politician. They need to go with somebody, say, in the entertainment world, I think.
They elected Joe Biden, who lost his mind,
But he was as an established politician. He'd been a member of Congress for so many decades.
Sure.
And he did win. I mean, he beat Trump in 2020. So, I mean, he did win the election.
You're lying dog-faced pony soldier. Remember that?
And Trump couldn't take that. Trump is a spoiled child, And he wouldn't have gotten in that there was no opposition. Who else people were going to vote for during the last thing? Only Trump. But I doubt a lot of them are regretting. I'm watching programs there. A lot of people are regretting they voted for Trump now. So you wonder what's going to happen,
They can have as many regrets as they like. I mean, he got a lot of votes, and that's it.
First of all, there's three things coming up. First of all, on Sunday night, well, it's a bit late now, it's sold out anyway, 4 things coming up. There's the children's shows on Spotlight Stage School have their annual concert on Friday and Saturday.
Is that Lime Tree?
Which I've made all the costumes for.
Is that in the Lime Tree?
Yeah, but that's sold out anyway, so we can't go. It's on Friday night and Saturday night. And then on Tuesday night, Patsy Perrin is giving a talk in the city, the library out in Maros at 6:30, which is very early.
And remember everybody who's living in the Limerick area.
Oh, yeah.
There'll be 43,000 people at a hurling match on Sunday in the Gaelic grounds. So just remember that. It's on at 4:00, so the place will be completely packed out. It's sold out.
You'll find out on Monday who won, wouldn't you?
I'll be at it, so I'll find out at the match. I'll be at the match. I got my ticket, so I'm over the board.
I'm taking a group.
Okay, everybody, you're going to have to leg it.
This is it, lads. We have another night.
Have to go.
I think we might have solved a few problems.
Later.
So for Morgan,
Morgan,
we'll see you next Thursday. Take care, lads.
See you next week. Yeah, okie dokie. Night.
This is Rare Media. To whom it concerns, welcome to the panel.